Well, Buckeye fans, it's a nightmare scenario coming out of Columbus as center Seth McLaughlin tears his Achilles on a Tuesday practice as Ohio State prepares for a huge matchup against the Indiana Hoosiers coming on Saturday afternoon. Anthony Moeglin here with another quick game episode on Ohio State Buckeyes on SI. And yes, this is a disaster scenario for Ohio State as they have been trying to kind of mend that fence up front, right? They've had a couple now season-ending injuries to two of their best players. You start with Donovan Jackson out at the left tackle position earlier in the year where he gets rolled up and has a significant knee injury that ends his season. And now you look inside to transfer Seth McLaughlin, who, truth be told, has been the rock of this offensive line, as there's been so much change and so much week to week differences between who's playing guard, who's playing tackle, who's playing up front. McLaughlin's been that rock inside, and to be very truthful about it, the center is the most important position on that offensive line. They do most of the communication. They do most of the identification of the defense. And losing him, I think, is an incredibly significant loss on an offensive line that has, frankly, been playing much, much better. Josh Fryer's been great out at right tackle. Donovan Jackson, as he's flipped from guard to tackle now to make up for, I said Donovan Jackson earlier. It was Josh Simmons who was injured early in the season, but Jackson now goes out to left tackle, and there's been just kind of this mash unit up front, and they've been playing really, really good football. But I think losing Seth McLaughlin is going to be very, very significant, and it'll be significant right away. The Indiana Hoosiers come to town. This couldn't have happened at a worse time. The Indiana Hoosiers coming to town on Saturday afternoon for a matchup that obviously we all know about. It's one of the most anticipated matchups in all of college football to this point in the season, because for Indiana, you're thinking that, hey, this is their chance to prove to the entire country that they do belong. They haven't really played much competition. The competition they have played, they've beaten pretty soundly, but they finally get their chance to knock on the door of one of the big dogs. And you felt like Ohio State was going to be just a little too much athletically with their actual personnel. But I think this is a significant loss, again, for a team that's pretty darn good on the defensive side of the football. That hasn't really been the story for Indiana. Everyone's been talking about Indiana being a great offense, which they are, but on defense, they're equally stout. I'm going to pull up some numbers that we showed on yesterday's preview or matchup preview episode, but we'll pull up the same graphic here. And what you're going to look at on this graphic here is the team defense throughout the Big Ten. You don't see Ohio State as the number one team. You see the Indiana Hoosiers. And what's the most concerning to me is on that rushing category. I have it lit up. They're only giving up 72 yards per game. And now, why is that significant? Well, it's significant for a number of reasons. The one is that Ohio State's offense is fueled by running the football. They can't just drop back 40, 50 times a game and expect to win. Their offense and Chip Kelly's offenses historically have been built off a successful run game. And losing your center is a big problem. It was going to be a big challenge if you had Seth McLaughlin. Now, minus Seth McLaughlin, especially going into a Wednesday practice, is really, really significant. So for Ohio State to win the football game, we talked about it. One of their keys was going to be to run the football and do it successfully. This takes a major toll and a major hit in doing so. But for the Buckeyes, it's not about looking backwards at the injury and at the poor timing of it. It's finding a solution. Where are they going to look to find that solution? Obviously, they keep things pretty close to the vest, and you'd expect them to do so. But they're going to have some options, and they're going to have to call on some young guys. Some young guys are going to get called up in the most important part of the season as we get into the end of November. We'll start talking about a Big Ten championship game if Ohio State can take care of business on Saturday. And you're starting to talk about a college football playoff where Ohio State, to accomplish their goals, going to need to play a bunch more games, play about 5 or 6 more games, win them all, and to be crowned champion. So Ohio State finds itself in a bear of a situation, one that they just truthfully did not need to this point. But they got to find their way out of it, and it's going to happen really quickly as the Indiana Hoosiers are coming to town on Saturday afternoon. And as the team prepares for that game Saturday, we're going to have you covered wall to wall with a bunch of content just like this. We're going to have another preview episode looking at Ohio State's defense versus the high-powered Indiana offense coming your way on Thursday. And then on game day, we'll have boots on the ground. We'll have a pregame show. We'll have a post-game show. We'll have all of the live content coming your way from the press conference room, from the podium. So what you got to do, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button to these shows, and be alerted anytime that we go live, because we love bringing you content just like this. And then right below me, as you're looking right now, you see si.com/college/Ohio State. That's where we got you covered with all of our written work. And that doesn't just stop with football. It's Ohio State men's basketball. It's women's basketball. It's wrestling. It's soccer. It's everything Buckeyes. We got you covered over on that site there. So go check us out. I know our team's working really, really hard. But for Ohio State, they got their hands full. They had it full earlier. Now that job's going to become much, much harder, as they are now have lost their starting center for the rest of the year. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight on this episode of this quick game show on the Ohio State Buckeyes on SI YouTube channel.